Hey, welcome, Jay Crash. It's an honor to have you here. I've seen you on Tom Cheshire's show, and you seem like such a cool guy. I have a kind of an ulterior motive where I've been interviewing you now, Kelly Hester, Tom Cheshire, it's my secret motive to getting cool with the cool Atlanta kids. I feel like you guys got such a cool culture down there, and you're all friends and you all speak highly of each other. So it was nice to have you on here on Radical Metal. This is our first show in 2024, so
That's
you're our
awesome.
first show.
Thank you for having me on. Yeah.
Yeah, cool, man.
I love all those dudes. Kelly, Tom. Yeah, those are the good homies for sure.
Yeah, all good people, and kind of blow me away how cool they are. Make me want to be cooler or nicer or something because they all seem to look out for each other and even looked out for me at times. And I haven't even met any of them in person, so it's not yet anyway.
Right.
I mean, there's lots of reasons to have you on, but another theme of radical metal, I feel, is talking to folks that have really paved their own way, even though it's probably very challenging, but overcoming obstacles to do what it is you want to do. That's fascinating to me, probably because I've taken a lot of easy decisions that didn't maybe require a lot of risk. So I want to hear from other people um, who who got after it. So all you guys fall into that category too. Kelly with Kelly's Death Pickles, Tom with his band and West End Hotel, and his broadcasting stuff, and then you now with, is it Terminus Hate City? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, that's the full name. And it's been it's a predominantly record label and management company. So we do I guess specialize in like the artist development sense of things. I take into just the artist needs and kind of trying to help them grow. And in some ways, I guess like a platform to help them get onto either larger labels or grow independently. I'd say, the ethos behind Terminus Hate City is definitely like independent. I consider a lot of like just the art, I consider it's like artists that we work with rather than like, it's like a family rather than like, oh, they're, I mean, for all intents and purposes, we have a roster, you know what I mean? But like, it's more than just like a roster. It's kind of like, I consider a lot of the bands like friends and homies. And, it's like we just had Anti-Sapien from Brooklyn come into town and we helped book that show. And then, obviously hung out with them and whatever, just like kind of building bridges and stuff. And then it just so happened that I had a lot of mutual friends that knew, the homies in that band from Brooklyn, and just like kind of just all this like stuff that you kind of see kind of coming together in a small world sense of things and you didn't realize. But yeah, I mean, not to get carried away with the question, but yeah, man, that's like kind of just we do a lot. So as far as Terminus Hate City goes,
I feel like you're trying to create an environment where you support these bands that's family oriented. Like you kind of, or maybe you treat each other as family as opposed to a number on a roster, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's interesting. So you say band development, because I wasn't sure exactly what it was. Is it, and you know what? I have an idea. This is going to sound like an ulterior motive too. Maybe it is, but it didn't originate that way. But so I have a band, and I thought it might be interesting to be like, hey, this is where we're at. What would you guys do with my band? Or just to maybe, if that's not a good idea, we don't have to do that, but maybe it helps illustrate what kind of services you perform for bands.
So a lot of it is kind of definitely developing a strategy or like, business plan, etc. But I guess like kind of deep diving into that and, going into like, okay, what is, what are we going to do about, music videos or like, photo shoots and keeping up with, you know, the times of TikTok and Instagram and shit like that. Helping the artists understand the music industry a lot more too, because there's just the music business in general is just an insane layered kind of beast, you know, and it really does swallow a lot of, you know, I mean, just the sad, I mean, that's really kind of why I started the label, just seeing so many dope bands in Atlanta. And, you know, it's like friends of mine, maybe, you know, maybe biased because they are friends, you know, it's like, but I'm just like, these guys are the next ones, you know, they're gonna be the next, you know, band. And either because of not enough like national coverage or you know, not understanding the music industry enough, or like just a number of things, drama, you know, a lot of times, and not knowing how to deal with like personal issues and compartmentalizing things, whatever, you know, just like certain things have like led to the implosion of a lot of bands that, you know, I really loved seeing, you know, it's like grew up with. And it was like one of those things where I was like, man, how do I like get these, you know, it's like develop longevity even for like the independent artists. And it's not like, you know, in this day and age, you don't have to fucking be Sleep Token or whatever, who I do happen to like, you know, I don't, it's like, I don't care, but like, it's, you don't have to be the biggest band in the market to be successful now. You just have to understand the industry, diversify a little bit, and do things like, you know, it's Tom and Kelly and you know, whatever else. It's like create, you know, another business, you know, get involved in your community and everything like that. And you know, and it is all about the music, but it doesn't have to entirely be all about the music, you know, just like branch off, do something else, graphic design, merchandising, whatever, you know, there's a bunch of different things, but you know, it's just kind of with that, I saw a lot of bands kind of just falling off and wanted to help out and get back to like the source of like independence and not relying on the corporate market, you know, to come our way, and then, you know, we just like magically get successful overnight or whatever, you know.
It reminds me of Sid Howell, another guy, right?
Yeah,
We
that's
both
another
know. Sid Howell. Well, there's Legion X, which I think I told him this, and I mean it. I think they're my favorite band right now. But doing Sid Howell Presents, you know,
yeah,
talking shit with Sid and all that stuff, and the promotions.
yeah,
Uh, that might fall in line with what you're talking about, to diversify how you engage the community by while still staying. This is what I'm hearing anyway. While still staying aligned with like your passions with music.
right.
So, do bands come? Do they come to you, or do you go to them? Maybe it's a combination of the two.
There's
Uh,
definitely a combination. You know, some bands I'll like reach out, just kind of like put the seed in there or whatever, you know, and just kind of be like, hey, you know, I really like what y'all are doing, and you know, if you ever want to talk, the door's open. And you know, sometimes that just coming out to shows or whatever, and shouting them out on Instagram, whatever, you know, doing a few things here and there. You know, it's just showing that you care, and pretty much like getting out there and helping them out with the show or whatever, you know. And a lot of the times that just develops a relationship kind of naturally. So you know, it's not really anything that I mean, I don't think there's been any band that I've, you know, just like blown up or whatever and been like, y'all got to get on the label, you know. But I mean, it's there's been bands that I feel that way, you know, but never approached them that way. And I mean, I've definitely had a lot of bands be pretty hardcore about like trying to get on the label, but you know, and I mean, there are a lot of bands that there are more bands that I want on the label than I can take on, you know, just in a budgetary sense of things. But
yeah.
you know, that's just kind of, and I mean, time really, you know, there's just only so many hours in a day. So, and just as a pretty like solo, you know, not entirely, not solo, but like, you know, we have a pretty small team. So it's very DIY and everything like that. So, I mean, you know, there's a lot of growth that we can have before, I mean, rather that we need before we can have a larger
roster
on that sense, but yeah, I mean, what we do right now is pretty comfortable. And the bands that we work with right now, it's always like it stays busy, but it's nothing that is unmanageable.
Yeah. Hey, can we do this as an experiment? I swear I did not think of this until now, but until we started talking. But it's gonna sound selfish, but so I have a band called Triadem, right? And we haven't been playing together a lot, and we might even be done. Honestly, we all have kids. Not all of us, but a lot of us have kids now, and it's just like it happens to a lot of bands, right? And we recorded I think five or six like really well done recordings, and we have like 8 other songs that we just can't seem to get back into the studio to finish out. So I had an idea. I'm like, well, hey, if this is going to end, why don't we at least get it out there? Why don't we just put what we've recorded on like an EP or something like that? So what if let's pretend a little bit. Say you come and you saw us play, and you're like, oh man, they're awesome. And then I come to you with that, and I say, hey, that's where we're at right now. I think what we want to do is put together at least one kind of body or one piece of work to throw it out there in the ether, just to say so we can put a bow on it, which is what I want to do.
So with that, I mean, honestly, that would be the kind of thing that I'd look at it and be like, okay, it's like you might be looking at it as like one EP, but I'm looking at it as like how many songs is it? It's like what, like five or six songs or so?
6 songs, yeah.
6 songs. Okay, yeah. I mean, that's like, I'm looking at that as like, that's 6 chances to, instead of one EP, you break it up into singles. You don't have to drop 6 singles, but you can drop 2, 3 singles, and then kind of build up a exposure or whatever, get kind of hype going. And then, it's like you drop all of those tracks on one EP, and you just kind of run it digitally. But there's a lot of algorithmic strategy to that the technological gods will reward you for. So that's just kind of something that's just like the day and age that we live in. And I mean, I guess that knowledge should be like, for the most part, if you follow social media influencers or whatever, but I mean, they're kind of more than that. They're like, in the music industry. And I mean, I guess you just kind of got to find the right ones in your niche or whatever. But I mean, for me, in like heavy metal, the underground metal scene, whatever, I follow like Bacon's Bits. Matt Bacon is a really great music business strategy guide person. And I mean, you kind of find like, really, it depends on what band, but I mean, the waterfall strategy is like what everybody's like kind of going for these days, unless you're, that band or whatever that can just be like, hey, we're dropping an album next week, and people are, shit themselves or whatever. And it's like, but, until you're on that level, kind of developing that hype is something that you're always going to want to do, like no matter what, because it's, especially with people's attention span this day and age, it's easier to kind of like, ease them into that. And I mean, there's, I've definitely had some like feedback, in terms of like, some bands think that it's better to just like drop it all at once. And there are bands where I've seen that work really well, where they're like kind of, on that, but it's at a very particular moment in their career, where it's like, they're already on that, like kind of, climactic rise or whatever, and they drop that one piece, that one, let's say 8-song EP that just isn't a full album, but whatever, it's like that will boost them up to that next level. But it's usually right after they've, already dropped some music, gone on like a couple really successful tours. And then they're like, oh, hey, by the way, here's some new music, because people are already, kind of fiending for that. And they're ready for it. So I've seen that work out really well. But again, I'd say if you were to come to me, I'd say, no, let's drop, 3 songs, singles, space them out 6 weeks apart, drop, one single with a music video, another single with a lyric video, another single with, one last music video. and then run pre-sales the whole time on like whatever physical copies that you want to do. And that kind of gives you time to get some money together, you know, as a band or whatever, get them manufactured and everything like that. And then from there, yeah, I mean, you're steadily building up your, you know, Spotify numbers, YouTube numbers, Bandcamp numbers and stuff like that. And also each one of those singles, you have an opportunity to deliver them, submit them to the Spotify editorial playlists, which are very powerful tools that, you know, that if I mean, it's kind of like a lottery ticket, you know, lottery number, whatever you submit it, and it may or may not get on a larger playlist, but not doing it, you know, obviously will result in nothing, you know. So doing it is definitely, but point being, if you upload that EP just as one EP to Spotify, you only have one chance, one song that you can submit. But if you break it up, you know, you have up to 4, because you have those 3 singles that you drop separately. So you can submit each one of those singles to the playlist separately, on top of a 4th one when you drop the full EP. So that's just like 4, you know, chances that you have to like build those numbers, and, you know, kind of, and again, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, you know, and then it's disappointing, you know, when it works one time and then it doesn't work the next time. You're like, what the fuck? This song was better. But like, you know, it's like, I don't know, you know, sometimes it just kind of works that way. But the end all be all is that if you put something out, especially like, you know, with fans these days, if you put something out and it doesn't do as well as you thought it would, you can put something else out and put a shit ton of like, you know, make that music video better, make it, you know, put a little bit more planning into the release of that, make it a little bit more special, do something like you know, we're doing a t-shirt with this, you know, whatever. And if that does really well, people will go back and they'll be like, oh, I missed this single. Damn, this song was really good. And we're having that kind of happen with like, again, that band Anti-Sapien. There was like one song, there was like, for me, at least personally, there was like one song in that album. The whole album was badass, but like there was one song that was just like, damn, this is the song, man. People are going to be blasting this song. And then it didn't hit as well when the album dropped, but then now people are catching on to it. You know, it's like that song hits live and people are like, you know, they got to move. So it's one of those things that didn't catch on at first, but then it started to, just because of the persistence of, you know, of everything. But, you know, and because of the other promotion that we put into the other singles and songs surrounding it, you know, that kind of just brought the attention back to it. And I mean, social media like also does help. We have a pretty great social media following, but you know, there's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, dude, you just dropped. I mean, you didn't even have to prove yourself, but you just dropped a ton of wisdom in the form of strategy. I'm hearing like it depends on timing whether or not you may want to drop a full EP or full album, but a lot of times, especially up and coming, you want to parse it out. I'm just repeating what you said back to me, but parse it out because it gives you more chances to maybe get noticed, and then also informs how to do it better the next time along the way. That's amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. So if there's a band like mine where we have no fans, no following.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, that is how you go. And I mean, Jesse Cannon is another really good. He's more on like YouTube and everything like that, but Jesse Cannon, Matt Bacon talk a lot. I'm sorry, they collaborate a lot. They also talk a lot, but like in a lot of informative ways. But you know, those are what am I trying to say? Like specific strategies, popular strategies that they kind of, especially in 2023, 2024, you know, going into the I mean, really the new era of the music industry, because things have kind of been changing for a while now. And obviously like with, you know, other unknown factors like AI, you know, written music and AI written, you know, lyrics and everything like that. Then it changes the game a lot, but just being informed on simple things that you can do to kind of take your your listeners from like, okay, well, I have 0 listeners or whatever, or 10 listeners or something, and it's like taking that and, it's not going to happen overnight, but, you could easily see a satisfying growth, in a 3 to 6 month time frame, if you do it correctly. And again, there's a lot of, it's frustrating because there's so much good music out there, and there's so many artists that I guess if it were only up to talent, deserve it. But unfortunately, there's just so much talent out there, and at the end of the day, being the loudest does help, and being the loudest everywhere helps the most, and that's just,
Yeah.
just persistently hitting every single market, annoyingly, and to the point that it annoys you personally, but that's work, that's just like,
Yeah.
okay, that's just, another hustle. And when you're going like, God damn it, oh, I gotta do this again. It's like, that's just kind of sometimes just like the grind, and then just repeating it and like, okay, I gotta post this same caption, from Instagram to Facebook to TikTok to Thread to X or whatever, and it's doing that on a daily or consistent, basis to where, it's just like any business where it's, your fans can rely on going to you as an artist or entertainer, at a certain hour on any given day of the week, and it's like, hey, can I go and check my phone at noon to get a laugh or to listen to some cool music or to discover some cool music or to get this information, especially like with like day jobs and busy lives and kids and everything like that, sometimes like having that routine and reliability is good and necessary and for everyone out there, and just kind of like honing in on that, especially within your own target market.
So is that the type of service you offer to do? You take the pain and the daily grind of that off the artist's back, or is it like, how do you make money? Given all the strategy you just shared with me, is it something like, okay, now that will be $100?
So like not necessarily. Like right now we are working out a little bit of that specific like service part right now. The bands that do join the label, they'll pay like kind of like a monthly like management service fee sort of. So it's like on top, instead of taking, because we do physical and digital distribution, and that's like a pretty solid like percentage that we take. We don't take like a management percentage, I guess. So we take a much smaller percentage than other larger record labels. Like I've just heard all kinds of crazy numbers on contracts and stuff, even for like very small independent artists, and it's just like one of those things where it's like, dude, like, I mean, as much as 90 to 99% overseas or like in Canada or something like that. And it's just like, cool. So I'm just going to make 1% of my royalties, from like all of like Canada or overseas, it's just like, I don't know, that's crazy. But like dealing with a lot of that other stuff. Yeah. It's like kind of working in like a smaller monthly like management fee that kind of covers just like the basic like time and effort. And then on top of like the physical percentages, we have introduced like a larger package deal for artists this year that's kind of broken down a little bit more into like we do like music videos and stuff like Tapes has been our videographer for like I guess like probably like 3 years now. He's done all of our video work minus like a few things.
What's his name?
Tapes. He goes by Tapes. Yeah. TVPES Media on Instagram. Oh. But yeah, Tapes, like just, whatever. He does kind of analog, like an analog style. So that's, you'll see him a lot with like like old school VHS recorder. I don't know what they call it, but you know, it's he doesn't just do digital, so that's kind of like a cool thing, you know, that we're kind of trying to incorporate, like kind of give that like 90s metal, you know, MTV Headbangers Ball feel. We introduced like this Terminus TV segment last year that's like kind of going around interviewing bands and small businesses and stuff in Atlanta. So not just bands from Atlanta, but the shows that we threw, the events that we've started to do, that we kind of wanted to do a little bit more, document the shows and also start to interview the bands and everything like that. Just kind of like catch them backstage. Just like, you know, just have like a real quick, fun 5 to 10 minute conversation and, you know, just kind of get a little, whatever, just a little snippet, you know, kind of backstage story or whatever. And so we started to do that last year. And then that's kind of done a lot of things as far as building our like overall media, like, you know, entertainment presence and everything like that, and kind of helping to branch out into like packaging, like again, branding and like media content for artists and everything like that. That's really important, you know, in this day and age. Like, you know, you want to have a lot of live footage. You want to have, you know, interviews and things like that. And I mean, it's not like, you know, you don't have to have an interview with Decibel magazine or Revolver or Rolling Stone for it to matter, you know. And I mean, I think that there's a lot of there's a stigma with that, you know, but honestly, doing smaller stuff is way better because, you know, it's just more personable in the first place. You know, a lot of even if you are an artist breaking out that somehow gets, you know, an interview, much less, you know, a live video, you know, interview or something like that with like Decibel or Rolling Stone or Revolver, etc. You know, it's one of those things where even if you are an artist breaking out, those the people watching or you know, fans of those magazines, publications and everything, they might not really care. You know, they're looking for the larger artists. They're only really reading those articles for the larger names, or, you know, the larger news bits, you know, what is Slipknot doing, you know, and everything like that. So like, and you know, like I love Slipknot, but like, you know, it's not, those are just kind of that's just the reality of of things there. And that's not to say, you know, if you're an artist, don't deny any kind of publication or anything like that. You know, it's news is good, and you need that content for sure. But yeah, I'd say, like, you know, like bands shouldn't turn their nose up to any kind of thing. But yeah, this year has been a lot of like changing our structure and adding in a lot more of the direct services that we offer outside of just the label thing, you know. And that kind of took a little while to develop, just because we are artists. Like, I'm a musician, so it's kind of, I just have that, you know, oh, I just want to, you know, help out the homies and stuff, but then realizing, like, you know, the time, effort, you know, resources and everything like that, relationships, you know what I mean? Those have all like taken time and risk on my part, you know, to get to where, you know, I'm at. And I mean, it's just kind of, you know, at the end of the day, just creating sustainability for the company and for the artists that we work with, you know. So that's just kind of, you know, had to like rewire ourselves and do a lot of brainstorming and shit like that. But we actually are about to roll out those services on the website. We've kind of, with some of the artists, new artists that we signed on for this year, you know, we introduced that to them and everything like that. But, you know, it's just always like kind of a growing process. You know, we just never kind of standing still. It's just always kind of trying to figure out what we can do to reinvent the wheel.
We have a saying here, a tenet we live by at this channel, Radical Metal, which is one of many, but clarity comes through engagement, you know. And you just nailed it. I mean, you're staying in motion, and as you do that, and as you engage these different thoughts and actually put this brainstorming into action, you're getting the kind of the clarity you need to where you can maybe keep going with something or refine it, or maybe you're also learning stuff that you're going to have to cut out. Who knows, because it might be too demanding on the resources. But I mean, it sounds like you're doing everything right there. Hey, I tell you what, I definitely can. I send you our songs, and then maybe we'll hire you guys, or maybe we'll take advantage of one of those packages. But I would want to send you the songs and make sure that we would be someone you'd want to work with.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you may hate it. You hate it.
No, man. I mean, I would love to hear that for sure. Send them over. That's kind of just we weed through. I mean, it's actually really, honestly, the bands that we've had like very few, actually, like, I guess, quote unquote bad, bands or whatever come through. There's been a few bands where it's like, I don't know if this is the right fit, but yeah, I mean, most of the bands, it's like, damn, this is pretty good, dude. Like, it's like one of those things where it's kind of hard not to, just like you listen to, you're like, oh man, we got to get this band. And it's like, all right, no, chill out. What are we going to do? How are we going to do this? But
yeah, like you said, there's a lot of talent out there. And you only have so many resources to.
Well, it's funny, over COVID too, there was so many bands. It did kind of frustrate me being like a lifelong, musician who's like been dedicated to this and like doing this shit my whole life. It did kind of frustrate me seeing how many bands like kind of just like, I guess, like developed through COVID, where it's like, kind of, I guess people were out of work. So they were just like, well, I'm just going to start up a band. And then it like, took off out of COVID. And I was like, there was a little envy, what I mean, going through, like, I'm sure a lot of other people's heads. But I mean, it was one of those things where I did appreciate, ultimately, like, how much talent came out. I mean, you also saw a lot of badass bands writing some fucking phenomenal records through COVID, just because of like the trauma, that happened.
Yeah.
On just all, surrounding, like, everything, like, not even on a political sense, just like in a worldly sense, global scale. It just like was intense, and I think there was just a lot of artistic expression, that came out of that. And I mean, I just saw that, through after COVID. It was like, damn, there's a lot of bands now. Like, it was like, we thought there was a lot of bands, and now there's like a lot of bands, and I know that, I mean, sadly, the independent market, the independent music industry took the largest hit, and at the wrong time, just because there was a lot. But I think it also kind of developed some really strong independent bands that are completely, they don't rely on any major labels or any like major part. I mean, some, they work with larger like PR companies or larger, manufacturer, like distribution companies, etc. But I mean, for the most part, they're 100% independent, and they own their music, which is the most important thing for me to spread that word to musicians and be like, hey, it doesn't fucking matter. You can negotiate that on any contract that you sign with any label. Like, you don't have to give your music to them in perpetuity. You can be like, hey, no, you only own my music for a year, or you only own part, whatever. You can only, don't retain your publishing rights or whatever. There's certain things that you can negotiate in a contract that you can sign a good deal to a great label. I just had some friends like, talking about signing to Metal Blade, and it's like, they were still, one of the largest, metal labels there. And they were willing to give some pushback on their rights and everything, and allow them, it wasn't just them taking everything, and I mean, that's, shout out to Metal Blade, because that's awesome. They're still out there supporting bands and, making sure that they're taken care of, and I think that's just important. Mm-hmm. It's like, you can't do this without the music. So I don't know why there's these labels that kind of act like everything's expendable. And I mean, sadly, I guess once they own the rights to the music, the artists are expendable, you know, I mean, we've seen that, but it's, you know, that's just what I stress the most is like, you know, don't let anyone own your music, own your rights, you know, or at least have some way out.
Tell me this: of all the different services you provide and maybe refining right now, what's your favorite part of it all for you, for Jay?
I love the like kind of production part. I mean, like I guess in a sense, like all of the, um, well, like the music, I like the music strategy part, like kind of like the sitting down and being like, all right, what are we gonna, um, how are we gonna release this album and everything, like putting together like the music videos and the lyric videos and everything like that. I definitely like having a hand in that and sort of, I mean, I don't know. I don't really have time all the time to like, you know, really have a direct hand in being like, okay, let me, you know, write out this storyboard for a music video or anything like that. And I mean, I'd rather the band do that themselves or anything, you know, but I do like being a part of that process. Being in the studio with the bands, I really love, but honestly, I haven't had enough of those opportunities. But that's just like timing, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
those are honestly the things that I love to do most, is kind of helping on the production side of things. But um, that hasn't been, uh, I'd say, the main focus of what like Terminus Hate City is for our record label. Again, like going back to Metal Blade, Brian Slagle became, you know, really huge because he was producing a lot of these bands, you know, and being like directly involved with like them getting recorded and getting in the studio. And that was largely like I'd say the mission. Like we started out a lot like on that, having an actual studio or engineer that we could work with directly, but that's been pretty outsourced the past, like, you know, whatever, like several years of this company. But that's something that I would like to do more of in the future. But I don't know, I really like the, you know, just kind of the music strategy of it, sitting down, kind of like, I guess you know, it's kind of like a PR process too,
Mm-hmm.
the press campaign and everything like that. So, especially uh, getting Suspiria PR on board, that's been a really, we got started working with Katie like the last quarter of 2023, and she helped out with Apostle's most recent release, that the Apostle from Atlanta. They were our most recent music release that we dropped in December, right before the end of the year. But that was, I don't know, I just really like that process, kind of seeing like who we can reach out to, but then developing like the I guess the branding, you know, kind of the band. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what are we gonna say to like describe their music or like put them out there to the world, you know, kind of thing. I don't know. I like that. I think it's kind of important to to build that as like professionally or strategically or uniquely, really, like as possible, you know, for a band to like really develop that and like look at it and be like, you know, like your band bio, your band description. And I mean, there's like, it's really hard because there's so many uh like crossover genres now. So it's like, you know, you could have a band that your sound technically is like 4 or 5 different genres, but like kind of figuring out how to uh
Yeah.
you know, define yourself as like directly as possible, I've found is the best way. But I mean, because there's just always trolls on the internet who are gonna like make fun of you, like whatever. But like, I mean, honestly, that doesn't really matter. But
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I really like that process, you know, kind of talking to the band, getting them hyped up, you know, about like what they're about to release and everything. And that was actually really hard last year, kind of like a challenge that we had just with it was the first year that we had multiple releases, like just kind of going all at once. And, you know, we had like 2 debut albums that dropped in the summertime that were like, uh, just, really big, and we did vinyl releases for both of those. And then had, like one band had a full, 2-week long East Coast tour. And then another, Clot, they also had, I think, like a week long to, I'd have to look back. They had like maybe a 10 date long tour surrounding that. Their album dropped. So and on top of like, record release shows that we had in Atlanta. So it was just a lot of shit going on at once that, it was a lot of fun, but trying to like streamline that process, is something that, having to like go back and kind of again rewire for this year, or reconfigure for this year, but just for the sake of like volume, and having to do multiple things at once. But yeah, I mean, I love that process. Like the whole like album art. I love album art. That's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I like to do a lot of different things with the album art where it's like, okay, we're going to do prints or like, t-shirts or something like that, so there's just all kinds of promotional material and promotional like fun stuff that you can do for your fans and everything like that. And I mean, honestly, like I, again, didn't do enough of last year. And that's just something that I kind of, learned a little bit on and like kind of take into this year, especially being DIY. But I mean, I don't try to like beat myself up over it or anything. It's just like being, like taking an honest part of like learning, of learning a growing business or whatever.
Well, it sounds like you love all of it. Honestly, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, that's true. I did touch on a little bit of everything.
But that's, hey, it means you're doing the right thing. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that there's more than what you've already mentioned. That probably just stands out more to you than probably a million other things you do as well. I'll show you. So that's, if you can see that's our band art, or at least that's. So I'm only showing you because it was. I paid Kelvin Doran. He did some Mastodon artwork. Another tie that binds all the folks we've been talking about, and then Mastodon. We're this channel we're rabid fans. Of Mastodon. But he did some Mastodon posters, and we, like with a lot of artists for Mastodon, have become friends on Facebook. He wasn't on the show, but another guy named Kyler Sharp, really great guy. He's done a lot of Mastodon work as well. He's been on the show. But that was very fascinating. That might have been one of my favorite episodes so far, to get into the poster part of it. So he just did rock posters. I don't know if you're into that. You should watch that episode, because he gives a really cool history of rock posters, for one. And then he also ties in like it's not just the art, it's being able to be a printer. Like a printer is kind of the big skill set, and how to, I'm going to forget the right language, but how you palette maybe the right colors for a printing machine, and how that gets figured out is a part of the skill. It's not just, hey, I made this awesome painting, now let's make it a poster. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
Which I thought was it's just pretty fascinating.
I just like to touch on that like real quick. I guess like I think there's a lot of fascination in general with like the how-to parts of everything, nowadays, like especially just like with any business or like industry or anything like that. There's a fascination with like, how did you get there? Like what parts did you use? What colors, how did you develop this palette, or how did you like kind of put this together, and I mean, I think there's a lot of I have a lot of passion with that as well. And like I like to that is kind of what brought in, Tapes, the videographer, is just wanting to like capture all of that and kind of all of those like processes. And as a label, it's like kind of documenting, what it takes to like get us to this point of like, just step by step. And like, there's been definitely a lot of like mistakes and failures along the way, but like, it's just kind of just kind of owning up to those. And honestly, the fact that, it's like having those documented, honestly, is a little bit better, because you can go back to that point in time and be like, oh man, we fucked up here. Like, where do we, like, looking back at it and be like, okay, like, now we know exactly what we did, and how to do it better. But I mean, also just kind of, there's a lot of passion in that, I think, especially with the influence side of things, like inspiring the next generation. Like how do you have like, the next like 18 or 20-year-old want to, start his DIY cassette label with his, friends or something like that out of his parents' garage or whatever, and it's, it's like reaching that next generation. Like, how do we continue this culture, of stuff, pass that torch along and everything like that. I mean, I'm still young, but like,
Kelly sent me a question for you.
Yeah.
Kelly Hester.
Oh yeah.
Kelly says, hopefully you think this is funny. He's like, how do I know Jake crashes at Ember City?
How do you know? probably because he can hear me through the walls right now.
He says, I smell weed.
That's okay. Okay. I see what he's doing there. I think I hear him on the walls right now. I'm not sure.
Are you at Ember City right now?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay.
I got we have I guess my band's rehearsal room is here, and then I don't know, we just kind of turned it out into like a workroom / storage room / studio space, or not studio, but rehearsal studio. But yeah, man.
Gotcha. So you guys all pay rent to Bill? Is Bill the landlord?
Yeah, Bill is the landlord.
That's cool. Yeah, well, I told you I'm coming down there later this month, and so I hope I get to see Ember City, but I don't know what we're gonna do. I'm only there for a couple of days, but maybe we can hang out when I get there.
Yeah, I'd love that.
It sounds like another very positive thing in your life was quitting drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask, because now we're friends on Facebook, and I've been reading your posts, and I've been very inspired by it. And also, as someone who I recently was, I go back and forth. I really don't like alcohol anymore. I over Christmas I was drinking, but before that I got it to 80 days, I think, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
To not be drinking, and then the holidays I felt like maybe obligated to, and I'm like, you know what? I feel crappy all the time. And where is that awesomeness I had before the holidays? And now I'm back on the wagon, I guess you'd say, and looking forward to it, and personally feel like a much more profound buzz, which may sound cheesy, just towards like accomplishing my goals and all that kind of stuff. And whereas drinking just kills it all. I feel like all the creativity I have not drinking, and drive and motivation and productivity, it's just like killed instantly if I start getting into old habits. But tell me about your journey this last, I don't know, has it been 2 years, 1 year?
1 year is actually 1 year. I celebrated my 1 year like 2 days ago. So on
oh wow, yeah, nice, congratulations.
Friday, January 5th. And yeah, man, that was really that was a big accomplishment, and just kind of milestone hitting that. I don't know, like my whole life has been kind of just sex, drugs, and rock and roll, type of thing. And I mean, there's a lot of like living up to that lifestyle, is a stigma. It's like kind of like a, people look at you for that, in a way, like when I stopped drinking, people were like, it's kind of almost like a part of my identity. And I didn't even realize it, like at that time, it was like, people were like, you don't drink. And then, and it was like one of those things I had stopped. And then I went just under 6 months. It was like 4 or 5 months, I think. And then And then, you know, some crazy shit happened and I was like, oh, I'm going to start drinking again. Kind of did that for the rest of 2022. And then towards the end of that, I was very much so done with it. I mean, I had already started to like, you know, just drink more and more. And like when I stopped and then started back again, I was just kind of like drinking beer, you know, like I was just doing the I'm just gonna drink beer thing. And then it was just like I just drank more and more beer every day. And and then, you know, eventually it just started like, oh, I'm going to drink beer and wine, you know, or something like that, you know, and then it's just like, again, just, or I'm going to drink beer and I'm just going to drink vodka. I'm not going to drink brown liquor or whatever, you know, and like,
Yeah.
justifying it in like stupid ways. And it just kind of developed back into like old habits. I was like, okay, I definitely don't have like a handle on this. And I don't think I ever will, you know, or at least if I do or have a chance of it, then, you know, I'm going to need to take like a very long sabbatical and like do some, you know, spiritual, like for lack of a better term, work as well. Bettering my person has helped me creatively as well. You know, like it's just kind of, I've gotten more organized with all of my business, like just more productive, more motivated because I'm more productive, and you know, getting behind on shit is like it just adds up. It's just like a you know, just starts to build up and get overwhelming. And you know, it's like you take I don't know, I can kind of take, you know, that night to like I can take a night a week or something to like party or let loose or like, you know, have fun with my friends. And by party I mean like, you know, I don't know. I don't really stay out that late and I don't drink. So it's like one of those things where like I'll still go out and have fun. But like, you know, it's like if I go out to a bar, I'm usually, you know, there and like I'll hang out for like, you know, a couple hours, 2, 3 at the most. And then it's like I'm kind of like checked out and ready to go, unless it's like a show that I'm throwing or, you know, a show that I'm attending or something like that, or like, you know, a lot of friends or but I can afford to like do that. And it doesn't, you know, I don't go out and then it turns into like the next day. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like right, I'm out till like 4 a.m. and then that like fucks up my whole next day because I'm hungover and, you know, barely scraping by, you know, and it's one of those things where it really affected me. And then it's, you know, as an alcoholic, you know, just like having to drink to get back right, you know, that just kind of became a vicious cycle. And living that lifestyle of like going out every night and like having a show, having a party, having like a friend show or like whatever, you know, just kind of, I mean, you know, there's a lot of, when you're in that cycle, you kind of think like, oh man, this is it. Like you know, it's hard to think of like any other thing that you could be doing in that moment. But, you know, it's one of those things where once I stopped drinking, I was like, oh man, like, you know, yeah, I can like not go out tonight and instead work on this, you know, whatever, and like work on my music. You know, I had a lot more time to do my own stuff as well. And I mean, especially being like you know, my music is the most important thing to me, you know, and letting that fall to the wayside was really affecting my health, like my mental health and everything. And, you know, really at the end of the day, it was like, damn, I only have time to work on label stuff to get, you know, because like, you know, my responsibility, my work ethic and everything like that. And yeah, my responsibility to my artists definitely outweighs like my need, like, I guess to write riffs or whatever. But I guess my passion, I don't know what I'm trying to say is like it created a lot more time for me to do both and to kind of balance those things out and be like, okay, I can write my music and develop my band and kind of grow my band and also grow the label and work on these projects at the same time. And I mean, like with last year was crazy. So like, you know, there was a lot of things that I learned just kind of by being thrown into the fire. But like, you know, there's some things that I did great, and some things that, again, I learned how to do better. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it was so much better just being able to be like, damn, I have all this time, instead of being like hungover, like, getting wasted, or like being too drunk to like, really do good work, because it's like, you're like doing, just like being a functioning alcoholic. I'm like getting the job done, but not on a personally satisfying level. It's very much so like, I'll get the job done, and someone might, pat me on the back and be like, damn, this is a good job. But for me, it's like, I know this isn't my best work, and that starts to really, if you're a person that really competes with yourself like I do, then that affects you, and it really and other ways, with your other relationships and everything like that with everyone else. So, there's definitely, I think that it's been one of the best things that I could have done for myself. And it's nothing that I'm like gonna sit here and be like, man, I'll never touch a drop of alcohol in my life ever again. But at the same time, I definitely don't have any intention of or care to drink anytime soon. So
did you find this, because this is one of the reasons I hate it. I'm one of these people, I don't know what you call it, but I feel if I can control my thoughts, I can control my reality. Only in the sense, not in some weird voodoo sense or whatever, but if I'm having self-defeating thoughts that get out of control and I can't get a rein on them, then that's going to start showing up in my reality. As opposed, if I'm disciplined in my thought patterns, that eventually will manifest itself into what it is I want, as opposed to what it is I don't want. But it all depends on what's going on up here. The drinking for me, it like kills the positive part. It
yeah,
like kills the, or it maybe at the very best, it just takes it off the table
mm,
where I'm neutral, and so I'm not producing anything, and maybe just what's the word? Just like on a treadmill or something.
yeah,
Um, and then at worst, it's, if I let it get the better of me, I feel like my thoughts are mostly negative, which I think, to be human, your thoughts are mostly negative. Drinking makes it worse. And then, but if you cut it out, at least for me, I find that I'm much better at controlling my thoughts, catching those thoughts that are diminishing and detrimental
yeah.
to me, and really trying to focus on the positive stuff, which with practice I feel really can do miraculous things in to where you want your life to be.
I definitely can be my own worst enemy. And, it's a very like self-destructive kind of thing that, like, a lot of times I don't even realize it's self-destructive. And that, but then it turns into, being like from like a subconscious self-destructive to like a conscious, like I'm a piece of shit, self-destructive, but like, and yeah, like kind of catching that before it turns into the like self-bashing, like self-loathing, self-hate, because I mean, that's, I'd say, a little bit of like pushing yourself in an aggressive way is important, but like, there, none of that is ever healthy, that just like toxic kind of stuff. And again, yeah, it does start to you'll see that come out in a bad way with someone else, or like another relationship that you didn't intend to, a friendship or whatever, business, there's like a lot of things that like kind of, you pop off, and you're like, oh man, I wish I could take that back, and a lot of times it's like, wrapped up in your own negativity, and alcohol definitely exacerbates that, at least for me, and I mean, in a scientific way, it is a depressant, so it's like,
Yeah.
if you're already stressed or, sad or whatever, doing, have anxiety about something, then, it might mask that, depending on how much you drink. But, at the end of the day, like, if you don't have an off switch or an ability to like, that self-discipline to like stop yourself, or anything like that. And it's not just like like, I mean, honestly, even the like, oh, I'm just gonna like change my attitude type of thing, like it doesn't work like that. It's not gonna, you're not gonna feel sad and then, drink some stuff and then, I mean, yeah, like it does kind of work like that. Sometimes like,
temporarily.
Temporarily. Yeah. Like there's definitely been times where I've been in a really bad mood and a shot's turned my attitude around. But, temporarily for sure. By the end of the night, I'm just like, oh man, what is my life? Where am I? Just, I don't know, just those thoughts kind of start creeping in. And, it's like, none of us want those, and it's just kind of being on the better path to like trying to, when I realized it wasn't just the alcohol too, that was kind of when I started to get, just a little better, trying to figure out, other things that I can do, like how to be more active or, read more, like, just learn more and everything, just kind of taking your mind and giving it a distraction, but like a healthy one, and, that's been really helpful. But I guess I'm kind of, lucky in the sense that I have a lot of outlets, it's like I can kind of turn to a lot of like, it's music or work or, something like that kind of takes my mind off of the lingering desire to drink, which honestly has waned like I don't even really feel the desire to drink at all. Even when I'm out at the bar, it's one of those things where it's just like it's like quite the opposite. I'm just like, I'm good. I just want to kind of get my shit done, taken care of, and get care of business mindset.
That's great. And that's fortunate too, because that was going to be another question. Like, it's in your business, it's got to be, I mean, the temptation is there all the time. There's even like, I feel there's a stigma. They say this a lot, which I agree with. Like, alcohol's the only thing, if you stop it, people ask you what's wrong.
Right.
And that's true in everyday life, especially in the music business, like, just because it's like, I think you even said it earlier, like you maintain a stigma or maintain a perception of what the whole business is supposed to be, which is, sex, drugs, rock and roll.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it's been that challenging for you.
No, well, yeah, like that, I will say, this last year was pretty, I had a pretty big support system, like my best friend and business partner, and the label, Ryan Buck, we ended up just like kind of quit, stop, drinking at the same time. And it just, we were able to kind of, be accountable in that way with each other. And then I've had a lot of friends that like we party pretty hard and like they've turned their shit around, like had, a rougher go of things than I have or whatever, what I mean? Like, not to like compare anything, but like, it's like, well, we're going to be real about shit, and it's like, if they can get their lives together, I'm going to get my shit together, and it's one of those things where just kind of like holding each other, accountable in a real way, and not letting each other slip up too is like very, I think important, and has helped too, because it's like, at the end of the day, there's no excuses. I mean, it's like you can make up a bunch of excuses and be like, oh man, this happened, or like, I need to de-stress or do whatever, and it's like, I mean, but I mean, I definitely think if when, whatever, if I do drink again, it'll definitely be in my own control and at a time where like I have something like major to celebrate, and not just New Year's, but like, like it's like, I mean, that's like, that was kind of a hard thing. I'd say last year I was like, oh man, how am I going to get through like New Year's and like Christmas without drinking? But honestly, it just didn't even, it didn't affect me really. Like I was just kind of like posted through it. And I mean, there was definitely like, I wanted, like, just like, I guess some symbolic, things, like, I think we got like a sparkling or like the, non-alcoholic, drinks or whatever, but, that's just kind of, I don't know. having an accountability support system definitely helped within the scene, even though it's like, especially in this lifestyle too, you know, it's like, oh, my friend's at this show right now and he's not drinking. So, you know, all right, cool. Like, I don't have to like get through this show with a beer in hand or whatever, you know, like I'm not going to be made fun of, like, just cause I'm not drinking. I mean, it doesn't happen like that, but you know what I mean? There's always kind of, I guess, that like fear, the FOMO. I mean, you know, fear of missing out is definitely a big one. You're like, oh man, I'm not going to have as good of a time. You know, my experience is going to be ruined or something like that. And I mean, I think letting go of fear is a big thing too. And just being like, you know what, it's like, dude, it's not that big of a deal.
For me, the reason I started again, well, it was the holidays. So I'm like, but I also got kind of tired of being like, as I'm calling it, like a Boy Scout. Like I, you know, and I'd forgotten all the, you know, I even write it down. Hey, this is why this is stupid. This is why this sucks. But I forgot about all that. I wish I had reminded myself. It just kept it going through the holidays. But it's not like it's that long ago for most to remember why it's not serving you well or whatnot. But it's so, for some reason, just so easy to forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, man.
Well, hey man, hey, thanks for sharing all that. I know you're an inspiration to a lot of people, maybe more than you even know. I know you're a big inspiration for Mr. Cheshire. Why he wanted me to, I think he asked me to ask you to come on a while back too, and I didn't know who you were, so I think I forgot about it, and then I saw you on his show, and so I really appreciate you coming on our show. And who knows, maybe I get a chance to meet you in person later this month when I come down.
I hope so.
I got your number. Yeah,
you got my number, man. Hit me up for real. I'll be around. You know, it's like I'm born and raised Atlanta. I live in Atlanta, so it's yeah, man.
I can't wait to see. Just, you know, there's so much mystique around it, especially for someone like me. I think I've only been in the airport. I don't think I've ever really hung out in Atlanta,
man.
And then I'm going to send you these songs. And if you hate them, you feel free to not like them too, because just in case, I think they're great.
Okay, I'll give you an honest, some honest feedback for sure. But no, I mean, please send them over. Yeah, like I love that. Yeah,
all right, brother. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for coming on, man. I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
You too. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. Cheers.
All right, Jay. Take care of yourself, man.
Bye.